Just made some news by saying that you are going to run for re-election.
I said that is my expectation.
The president has every intention of running for re-election.
I'm a great respecter of fate. Fate has intervened in my life many, many times. If I'm in the health I'm in now, if I'm in good health, then in fact I would run again.
I thought he was very transparent when he was talking like that, because that's the truth. President Biden and the White House say he will run for president as long as he's in good health, but who has a crystal ball? With his approval rating mired in the mid-30s now in recent polling, Democrats are reportedly considering other options behind the scenes, probably behind his back. The Hill has ranked the top 5 Democrats most likely to win the nomination if President Biden were not to run for re-election. Vice President Kamala Harris tops the list, followed by Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Amy Klobuchar. Power panel now. Mercedes Schlapp, ACU Foundation Senior Fellow and former Trump White House Advisor for Strategic Communications. David Carlucci, former New York State Democratic Senator. Great to see you both. So, David, I'm going to start with you. It would have to pretty much be behind his back, because we haven't heard the president say he's going to sit down. What is it like for discussions like this? I mean, you're a strategist, so what's the strategy?
Well, I think right now, all eyes and effort have to be on the midterms. And the reality is that we don't have a crystal ball. You're right. We have a better chance of picking the winning Powerball numbers than to know who's going to be the next president of the United States if Biden is not the candidate. I mean, all we have to do is look at the last election when President Trump was a candidate. If we were 2 years before that, we would have no idea that Trump would have been the president of the United States. So the economic climate is changing more rapidly than ever before. The political environment is changing more rapidly than ever before. So I think it's very plausible that you will see someone that's not even on that top 5 really start to make it to the upper echelon if Biden is not the candidate.
Yeah, that's really yeah, you know what, you tried to cover every base there. By the way, the economy just isn't on the move. It's plummeting, but we'll move on. Mercedes.
Well, I got to tell you, I think you see that a growing number of Democrats would prefer that Joe Biden not run again. But the reality is, Harris, you know who's in charge of the Democrat Party, and I'm curious to see what David would say. But it's Barack Obama, and he will be the one who I think would make very strong recommendations to Joe Biden whether to run or not to run. What we got to be watching for is obviously not only what happens after the midterm elections, which of course we're seeing it move towards a big red wave. Will Joe Biden adjust his strategy? He cannot continue aligning himself and being advised by the progressives. It's really hurting him, hurting his brand, hurting his policies. He will need to adopt a Bill Clinton-esque approach, which is moving towards the middle to try to regain ground with the independent voters. And I think, Harris, that's what we're going to have to watch for, is where Joe Biden shifts towards, whether it's the progressives or more to the moderate, to determine whether he can run again and improve his poll numbers.
Those are great points, and I would just push back in this way. There's no way he can become Bill Clinton. He doesn't feel anybody's pain. He needs to be saying that he feels Americans' pain at the pump now, and needs to have been saying it since last fall when he first tapped the oil reserves in an epic manner. I don't think he feels anybody's pain. Those polling numbers have got to hurt.
He's making the hard decisions. The polling numbers, you look historically, I was looking at some Gallup poll numbers from 1994 that showed Bill Clinton in the 30s heading into the midterms. And then who got elected in 1996? President Bill Clinton. So I think to push forward and look into that crystal ball is very difficult, and especially now, too. I think
you made your point
that you think
the
Democrat Republican side.
You think the midterms are where you're going to put everything, and Mercedes made a beautiful point. If that's the guy you're banking on for the midterms, Republicans buy the drapes for the offices. All right, let's move on. Republicans gearing up for a red wave in November, as we've just been talking about. The Cook Political Report just revised its fall House forecast to a net Republican gain of 20 to 35 seats and calls 35 Democrat-held seats a toss-up or lower. GOP Conference Chair Elise Stefanik is making plans for and if Republicans retake the House. She tells the New York Post that among her top priorities are getting answers on former New York Governor Cuomo's cover-up of nursing home COVID deaths, the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story, and getting to the bottom of those secret migrant flights into New York that she claims are, quote, a human trafficking operation paid for by the taxpayers in the dark of the night. Mercedes.
Well, first of all, it's important for the Republicans to have an agenda to work through when they win the House of Representatives and most likely the Senate. And part of this that I think Elise Stefanik lays out are the investigations. That obviously, if Jim Jordan is running the Judiciary Committee, that's going to be a very prominent part of what you're seeing on the Republican side. In addition to that, they have to work through the legislation piece of this, which is how do you ensure that we try to control the situation at the border? But remember, we're going to end up in a gridlock because while House Republicans and let's pray, we have Republicans take the majority in the Senate, the reality is you're going to have Joe Biden basically vetoing any bill. I mean, he's going to try to stop the work of the Republicans. It's what happens when you have a divided government. The key will be where can we find common ground? So is it, for example, legislation where you curb the flow of fentanyl coming into this country? There you can find common ground. And that's going to be really, I think, the challenge as we move forward with a Republican majority in the House and the Senate.
David, with very little time, I want to drill down on something Mercedes said. She said that Barack Obama is in charge of the party now. You say what?
I say right now that both parties are run by the rank and file, that it's this power of the people. They're rising up for anyone to anoint someone. I think that's the politics of the past. Barack Obama, extremely popular, of course, and whatever he says and who he supports will have amazing gravitas. But this is something where we've seen more and more the rank and file, the everyday people, the voters are getting smarter and smarter and saying, I'm not going to let someone choose.
Certainly sound like Barack Obama was running it from what you said, but we'll just leave it there. Great to see you both. Thank you. Outnumbered after the break.